Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Now after they had left, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother by night, and went to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This is to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet. "Out of Egypt I have called my son." When Herod had saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, he was infuriated, and he sent and killed all the children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had learned from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what had been spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing in loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be consoled, because they are no more. When Herod died, an angel of the Lord suddenly appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel. For those who are seeking the child's life are dead." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was ruling over Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And after being warned in a dream, he went away to the district of Galilee. There he made his home in a town called Nazareth, so that what had been spoken through the prophets might be fulfilled. He will be called a Nazarene. The Gospel of our Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Congregation may be seated. Well, it is time for what has become tradition here. The Sunday after Christmas, I share with you a story that I love and is super familiar to me, and I hope becomes familiar to you. Do you all know what's coming? The Herdmans were absolutely the worst kids in the history of the world. They lied and stole and smoked cigars, even the girls. And they talked dirty and they hit little kids and cussed their teachers and took the name of the Lord in vain. And they set fire to Fred Schumacher's old broken down house. These are unlikely characters to be the stars of the show, but the Herdmans are just who author Barbara Robinson cast as leads in her book, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. And now I will add an aside. There is a new movie of this book out, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. As of last week, it was still in theaters. If you don't want to go to the theater, you can rent it for $19.99 on Amazon Prime or buy it for $24.99 and watch it every year, like I will probably do once a month. You know I love this book. I almost have it memorized. And it is a good movie. It is a very good movie. So after church, if you want to go home and hear this again, rent the movie. It's great. But in the book, Ralph, Imogene, Leroy, Claude, Ollie, and Gladys are the naughtiest kids at school. They drive their teachers up the wall, and they make the other elementary school kids afraid of them. The Herdmans are the last kids you would want in your class, in your store, in your house, or even near your own kids. Because when they came walking towards you, the best thing you could do, the narrator of the story tells us, is run the other direction. Unless you want to be black and blue. So imagine the poor mother who's in charge of the Christmas pageant in which the Herdmans are given all the leading roles, including Mary and Joseph. And the one speaking line in the whole play is given to the youngest and nastiest of them all. Gladys is the angel that announces Jesus' arrival. It appears to everyone that this year's pageant has no chance except to be a complete and total disaster. How could the Herdmans possibly convey the good news that Jesus Christ is born? But listen to how it all played out. From the last chapter of The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, as told by the narrator, whose poor mother is in charge of the pageant. Everything settled down. And at 7:30, the pageant began, and we sang 2 verses of O Little Town of Bethlehem. And then we were supposed to hum some more while Mary and Joseph came in the side door, only they didn't come right away. So we hummed and hummed and hummed, which is boring and also very hard. And before long, it doesn't sound like any song at all, but more like an old refrigerator. I knew something like this would happen, Alice Wendelkin whispered to me. They didn't come at all. We don't have any Mary and Joseph. What are we supposed to do now? Well, I guess we could have gone on humming till we turned blue, but we didn't have to, because Ralph and Emma Jean were there all right. Only for once they didn't come rushing through the door, pushing each other out of the way. They just stood there for a minute, as if they weren't sure they were in the right place. Because of the candles, I guess, and the church being full of people, they looked like people you'd see on the 6 o'clock news. Refugees, sent to wait in some strange, ugly place, with all their boxes and sacks around them. It suddenly occurred to me that this is just the way it must have been for the real Holy Family, stuck away in a barn, by people who didn't much care what happened to them. They couldn't have been very neat and tidy either, but more like this Mary and Joseph. Emma Jean's veil was cockeyed as usual, and Ralph's hair stuck out all around his ears. Emma Jean had the baby doll, but she wasn't carrying it the way she was supposed to, cradled in her arms. She had it slung up over her shoulder. Before she put it in the manger, she thumped it twice on her back. I heard Alice gasp, and she poked me. I don't think it's very nice to burp the baby Jesus, she whispered, as if he had colic. And she poked me again. Do you suppose he could have had colic? I said, I don't know why not. And I didn't. He could have had colic or been fussy or hungry like any other baby. After all, wasn't that the whole point of Jesus? That he didn't come down on a cloud like something out of Amazing Comics, but that he was born and lived, a real person. Right away we had to sing while shepherds watched their flock by night, and we had to sing very loud because there were more shepherds than there were anything else, and they made so much noise. They were banging their crooks around like a lot of hockey sticks. And next came Gladys, from behind the angel choir, pushing people out of the way and stepping on everyone's feet. And since Gladys was the only one in the pageant who had anything to say, she made the most of it. Hey, on to you, a child is born, she hollered, as if it was for sure the best news in the world. And all the shepherds trembled, sore afraid of Gladys mainly, but it looked good anyway. Then came 3 carols about angels. It took that long to get the angels in because they were all the primary kids, and they got nervous and cried and forgot where they were supposed to go and bent their wings in the door and things like that. We got a little rest then. Well, the boys sang "We Three Kings of Orient Are," and everybody in the audience shifted around to watch the wise men march up the aisle. What have they got? Alice whispered. I didn't know. But whatever it was heavy. Leroy almost dropped it, and he didn't have his frankincense jar either, and Claude and Ollie didn't have anything, although they were supposed to bring the gold and myrrh. I knew this would happen, Alice said for the second time. I bet it's something awful. Like what? Like a burnt offering. You know the Herdmans. Well, they did burn things, but they hadn't burned this yet. It was a ham. And right away I knew where it came from. My father was on the church